During the week of UFC 309, Dana White announced two big fights. One is set for UFC 310, Ian Gary versus Shavkat Rakhmonov, but I'll save that for another time. Today, what I wanted to focus on is the other fight that was announced, and I'm talking about Colby Covington versus Joaquin Buckley. Now, I have to admit, this matchup feels like something out of a simulation, like a random generated fight. I would have never guessed that if Covington decided to return, his opponent would have been Joaquin Buckley. But here we are, and alright, look, we've got to give Covington some props here, man. I mean, the guy has always been known for taking stylistic safe fights. That's kind of his thing, you know? Sure, his title fights are a different story, but outside of those, you can really look back at his career and see a clear, and I mean clear pattern. Guys like Jorge Masvidal, T. Wood, Robbie Lawler, RDA, they're all decent names, but let's be real, none of them are relevant anymore. None of those wins hold up when you look at today's top 10. So for Covington to step up now, especially after that rough outing against Leon Edwards, it's kind of surprising. Like, this is the same guy who's been super calculated with his matchups. And yeah, maybe Buckley isn't what people were expecting, but still, you have to give Kobe some credit for putting himself back out there after how things went last time. It's not the move most people thought he made, but hey, here we are. And as far as Joaquin Buckley, man, he just hit the jackpot with this fight. I mean, a lot of people are talking about how Ian Machado Gary won big by getting the #1 contender shot against Shavkat Rakhmonov. And yeah, that's true, but honestly, I feel like even if Ian didn't even get the Shavkat fight, he was still going to end up being in a #1 contenders matchup. It was going to be against Buckley. So in a way, Buckley might have just walked away with the bigger prize here. Think about it. This is a Fight Night main event against Colby Covington. People are definitely going to be talking about this fight when it gets closer. Covington is one of those polarizing figures that always draws attention, and Buckley being in the spotlight is huge for him. Whether you love him or hate him, this fight gives Buckley a massive platform. And look, I get it. A lot of people don't like Buckley. Hell, I wasn't even a big fan of him at first, but over time, he grew on me. Now imagine if Buckley pulls off a win here. A victory over Covington would give him some serious momentum, not just in the rankings, but in terms of recognition. This fight could really push him into a new level of stardom. Covington might have taken this fight to stay relevant, but for Buckley, this is a game changer. Whether people are rooting for him or tuning in to see him lose, this is the kind of opportunity that can completely make him a draw. Alright, that's enough yapping. Let's get into it. Let's address the elephant in the room. How do these two stack up against each other? Because honestly, I don't think this fight is going to be close. I believe one guy is going to dominate the other, and after some serious thinking, I've come to the conclusion that Joaquin Buckley is a terrible stylistic matchup for Colby Covington. Let's start with Buckley's grappling. The dude can grapple, man. Let's not pretend he's just some flashy knockout artist. On top of that, he's ridiculously hard to take down. Covington's entire game revolves about relentless wrestling, chaining takedowns, and grinding his opponents out for all 5 rounds or 3 rounds. Sure, that worked for him in most of his fights until he met Leon Edwards. And yeah, maybe you can argue that Kobe was hurt in that fight or he wasn't at his best. Fine. But even if you give me a 100% Colby Covington, like a 100% prime Colby Covington, I just don't see him being able to dominate Buckley on the ground like he has with the others. Here's why. Buckley is a tank. He's built like he was chiseled out of stone and barely gets held down, even by middleweights, guys who are naturally bigger and stronger than Kobe. And let's be real, Covington is not a big welterweight. He's actually on the smaller side of the division. Sure, his lack of brutal weight cuts might give him a cardios for days, but what good is cardio if you can't control your opponent? Covington isn't going to be able to bully Buckley like he did to guys like Robbie Lawler or T. Wood. Buckley's physicality and explosive styles are a nightmare for someone like Kobe, who relies on wearing guys down. And don't get me wrong, Covington's wrestling is elite, no question about it. But we've seen him struggle against fighters who are physically stronger or who can neutralize his pace. Add to that fact that Buckley isn't just a defensive grappler, he's dangerous in scrambles and he can make you pay if you overcommit. Covington can't just spam takedowns and expect to coast. Buckley will make him work every second of that fight, and I don't think Kobe has the firepower to keep up. Another thing that is alarming is that Joaquin Buckley is young, he's hungry, and he's on a roll right now. He's been active, he's been sharp, and he's riding some serious momentum right now. On the flip side, you've got Colby Covington, who, let's be honest, just had one of the worst performances of his career against Leon Edwards. On top of that, the guy has been crazy inactive. He's disappeared for long stretches, which makes him very hard to pick him in this fight. Let's be real. And we haven't even gotten to the striking yet, where if I'm going to be honest, I think Covington might be in some serious trouble. I mean, if you look back at Covington's fight with Leon Edwards, or even the second fight with Usman, he had moments where he was just stationary, like super stationary. In the Usman rematch, it felt like he practically took the first round off, and you cannot do that against someone like Joaquin Buckley. Buckley's got that Mike Tyson-esque style, you know, darting in and out, throwing bombs, mixing in some killer kicks. If Covington stands around waiting or trying to figure him out, he's going to get picked apart on the feet. And at this point, you've got to wonder if Covington is past his prime. He might be washed. Buckley's explosiveness and variety on the feet makes this an uphill battle for Kobe. I just don't see how he's going to win the striking exchanges, especially when you factor in Buckley's confidence and momentum right now. This can get ugly fast for Covington. And let's be real, Covington doesn't have any real power. He's a volume guy. He'll throw a ton of punches and try to break you down over time, but they're not that kind of shots that will make you think, oh man, I better stay back. And honestly, Buckley is that kind of guy to not get fazed by that. We've seen how he fights. Look at his fight with Wonderboy. Yeah, Wonderboy was older, but so is Covington. What is he now, like 36? He's starting to look washed. He's slower. He's hesitating. And honestly, I don't see the grappling working out. Buckley is built like a freaking tank, and Covington just doesn't have the tools to handle that. And here's the thing though. This fight feels like the beginning of the end for Covington. The welterweight division is evolving, the old guys are starting to phase out, and the new generation is taking over. Buckley is part of that new wave, and this fight feels like just another example of the changing of the guard. And look, maybe Covington drags it to decision because he's tough and he has great cardio, but even if he does all that, we're just going to see how washed he really is at this point. I respect Covington for taking the fight, sure. On paper, it's an exciting matchup, but let's be real, this is probably going to be a one-sided. And Buckley is about to make a statement, and I fully expect Buckley to take advantage of this, and I do believe he's going to be the next contender right after the winner of Shavkat or Ian Gary get their title. And look, man, overall, it's a great replacement, and I think it's going to have a fun build-up, especially with Covington overall, you know, being all over the top and goofy, and yeah, it's probably just going to go like that. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like always, guys, I'll see you guys on my next one.